Hi, good evening, good morning, everybody, and thanks for joining my webinar on connected aircrafts. On behalf of Honeywell, I extend a very warm welcome to you all, and will do my bit to make this webinar helpful and informative for everyone. My name is Nayyar, and I've been working aerospace over the last 18 years, with my last 15 with Honeywell. So, as we all know, the aerospace industry, and not just the aerospace industry, all industries are in the middle of digital transformation, and Honeywell is one of the front runners. The concept of connected aircraft is no longer something that's on the charts or on the drawing boards. It's something that's out. It's something that's out for real. It's happening. For more than 100 years, Honeywell has pioneered much of the technology used in flight, as most of you would know and would have kind of read about. And now we're using our experience of this industrial world to enter into a new digital era. So we are trying to mesh the industrial experience that we have with the software experience and create connected offerings on platforms like the aircrafts. So we all hear about Internet of Things, we all hear about big data, analytics, etc. But what does this really mean to a company like Honeywell? And what does it mean in the context of the connected aircraft? We're going to look at some of these points today. So what you have in front of you is today's run. So we'll look at what is a connected aircraft. What's Honeywell's vision for connected aircrafts? It would be interesting for some of you to know what is Honeywell working on. To the software geeks and enthusiasts, what we would also want to put together is a small picture of the software, or software view into connected aircrafts and what we do, and opening up an opportunity, opening and exploring opportunities on what we can do together. So as you can see on your screen, a connected aircraft is a self-explanatory concept. An aircraft can receive, transmit, analyze, share data, enabling more information, decision making, reduction of operational costs, and an improved flying experience. So, in other words, connected aircraft anticipates opportunities, and it actually offers unique insights by harnessing the power of analytics, because every component of the airplane is generating so much of data. It kind of brings in the power of analytics with all that data, and with the confidence of a secure communication link, because cyber security is such an important context, right? So by the way of connected aircrafts, Honeywell is changing the way people communicate on and with an aircraft today, and will continue to do that in the future, because that's going to change, and it's going to make the flying business safer, more productive, and more entertaining. So we are taking aviation and aerospace to the next level and achieving what was only dreamt of. I'm just talking about the vision that we at Honeywell think our connected dream is all about. A new era of connectivity is here, as we all know. Probably that's why we signed up for this webcast, and Honeywell can take you there. We are at a point of inflection, and it'll be a very different tomorrow for those associated with aviation, and all of us in this industry realize that. Honeywell is very uniquely positioned to bring this value to our operators and pilots, passengers, and a multitude of other stakeholders. And that's the power of the connected aircraft. And that's precisely what our vision is. So through a newly expanded and a dedicated business unit of what we call connected aircrafts at Honeywell, Honeywell has an even stronger focus on developing connected aircraft offerings and supporting the industry in the connected aviation. We do this with a very, very high specialized, diverse and talented team that includes pilots, dispatchers, meteorologists, maintenance personnel, and of course, the backbone of it all, engineering folks. With the backing of 8,000 aerospace engineers, we think we can create this dream of connected aircrafts real. We are kind of venturing into a whole lot of different areas into connected, but what I thought would make sense for today is touch upon some of the very impactful and key investments that Honeywell is making in the connected aircraft space, stuff that some of us should be knowing about. So I'll very briefly touch upon these initiatives or these important paradigms that Honeywell is looking into. We'll talk a little about connected weather. We'll talk about connected maintenance, and something of interest to all of us. How can we improve the in-flight Wi-Fi? How can we have a seamless Wi-Fi availability for all of us when we fly? And then we look at a problem statement that the entire aerospace industry, the OEMs, and the operators are facing. How can you increase the fuel efficiency, bringing in connected technologies? So let's take on weather first. So people who are from the aviation industry would know it's an industry that often finds itself at the mercy of weather, right? Um, all of us at a point in time would have had a cancel or a delayed flight because of weather. If we look some of the statistics, roughly one third of all the arrivals, and this was a study that was done for over a year, and this data is from October 2015 to September 2016. Roughly one third of the arrivals were delayed at least 15 minutes due to weather. So if you do the math, it amounted to around 300,000 weather delayed arrivals and totals to about 20.2 million minutes. If you aggregate all of that, it brings you to over 38 years of delays just with respect to weather. Ain't that huge? That's huge. Even though we have advancements made to the modern weather radar, and Honeywell is a big deal in that. I mean, we look at IntoView and we look at all the differentiated offerings that we have on weather radar. Pilots now have the 3D system which can tell them about hail and turbulence and lightning, etc., which has dramatically improved safety and efficiency for airlines. However, if you look at the latest onboard technologies on weather radars, they can only detect weather that's 300 nautical miles out. While that gives pilots some time to make critical rerouting decisions, but what if we can give them a better view of the condition further out? What if we can let them know just before the takeoff of all the weather that they're going to see? Currently, to get weather data that's farther out on a flight path, pilots have to rely on weather information from the ground that's not so fresh. And more importantly, you can't access that globally. This means that airlines and operators can sometimes fly blind into the inclement weather, and I'm sure you would want to fly that airplane, and they might not know about that until they're right on top of it. And it doesn't need to be that way, right? Should it, in a connected world? So Honeywell's Go Direct Weather is a solution that's been created. It's an information service that gives pilots real-time weather data along with the flight path. So with that level of visibility from gate to gate, pilots can plan the safest, the most efficient routes that are possible and file it in the flight plan. With the connected aircraft, pilots can get even more. So what we can also do is crowdsource real-time weather data from different sources, merge it together, and create a great situational awareness of weather. Delays would decline, fuel efficiencies would go up, and safety improves as pilots have the real-time weather data needed to plan and adjust their flight paths accordingly. The next that I'm going to talk about is maintenance. I mean, it's open. It's not just for the aviation industry. It actually makes a whole lot of sense to talk maintenance in the paradigm of connected. So in a connected aircraft, the airlines and the operators now have a new way to receive, transmit, analyze, and share the data, enabling more informed decision making. And this more informed decision making leads to operational cost reduction and an improved flying experience. So one of the biggest areas where connected aircraft will help airlines with the maintenance is being more smarter and being more efficient and more importantly predictive. Airlines no longer need to reactively fix mechanical systems. All of us have had an experience sitting on the tarmac waiting for something to be fixed sometimes. This broke and that broke, and you've got to kind of deplane and you've got to get on another plane. So it is all cost for airlines. Previously, maintenance crews spent a significant amount of time assessing the condition of an aircraft once it had landed. Now, if we have a connected aircraft, by wirelessly connecting a mechanical system or electrical system, these aircrafts can transfer data directly to maintenance crews to address any potential mechanical, electrical, etc., issues before it grounds the plane, saving time and keeping operations smooth. A plane grounded in a busy time could even lead up to expenses of $10,000 per hour. So that's expensive. The answer here is Honeywell's Go Direct connected maintenance services. Airlines don't need to scramble to troubleshoot mechanical, electrical, etc. issues that take up time. They get the data they need to be more efficient, keeping flights on time and passengers happy. Just if you're following press these days, Honeywell completed the first airline test of Honeywell's Go Direct maintenance service with Cathay Pacific, specifically using the Honeywell's connected maintenance for the auxiliary power units service. So the results were amazing. I mean, there was a 35% reduction in operational disruptions and with less than 1% false positives. So that's a great news. Also, just a few days back, Hainan Airlines, the first airlines to officially adopt Honeywell's connected maintenance for the APU, the auxiliary power units. It signed up for the existing fleet of 50 A330s and a future fleet of 40 A330s. So that's encouraging. The world is adopting the connected way of maintenance, and it's not just limited up till there. So we are looking at Honeywell. We are looking at the next generation trends in maintenance and trying to get our hands dirty and be the front runners by using augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and looking at the markets that we can kind of explore. So it's a big world out there for maintenance. The opportunity is limitless, and connected offers such great possibilities for us. In fact, the other part that the maintenance folks face is streamline of the most tedious portions of the job. I mean, at present, the airline folks spend hours pulling data from an aircraft. What if we could help them pull the data out seamlessly? So there's a solution that at Honeywell that we have worked. It's called the My Maintainer solution. It helps acquire, assimilate, analyze, and troubleshoot maintenance faults from Honeywell's maintenance and avionics systems. It reduces the needs for countless stacks of paper, tedious data entries, getting it into spreadsheets, making lookup tables and stuff like that. So that's a solution that's being worked at Honeywell with respect to maintenance. Now for the more interesting, for the more relevant section today, everybody, I mean, all of us are addicted to Wi-Fi. We can't do without WhatsApp or looking at our Facebook once a couple of hours. So we need reliable, we need high-speed data as we have in our homes, as we have in our offices. If you look at an airplane scenario, there is a need for a reliable, high-speed global in-flight Wi-Fi, underline global. Passengers are demanding it more than ever, but the current systems can't deliver the experience they want. If you want to look at some press, look at what American Airlines did a couple of days back with respect to the poor Wi-Fi availability. It was a fix. These systems that are there presently are not global, and they aren't so reliable also, and they aren't consistent. I mean, passengers like you and me would want to have the same internet experience in the air while we do on ground. So that's why Honeywell and Inmarsat are changing the way people communicate on an aircraft. We offer a faster, more consistent, and a global in-flight internet experience with Jetwave and Inmarsat's Global Express Ka-band service. It's all there in the press these days. I mean, look up LinkedIn or just Google or Jetwave, and you would see the kind of impact it's making in some of the conferences, some of the events that are happening around, especially eBase. Honeywell's Jetwave hardware enables passengers to connect to Inmarsat's GX Aviation broadband service. So if we get a little more into the technical details, the GX uses 3 Ka-band satellites with spot beam technologies to give aircraft the internet speed and reliability that passengers like you and me are used to having at home or in office, and it's a big deal. More importantly, the GX works around the globe, so it's global, so that problem is solved. Whether it's a business trip or a vacation, passengers can enjoy the same entertainment or be as productive at 35,000 feet in air as they are at home. So just some more information on this. Honeywell's Jetwave hardware that we spoke about is kind of getting used in the Boeing 737s, 757s, the A320s, and the A350s, and some of the business jets like the 737 BBJs, etc. And it's been adopted by Lufthansa, Singapore, Qatar, Vietnam Airlines, Air New Zealand, and a host of other airlines actually. And Honeywell is presently certifying the system for upgrades on over 30 different aircraft models. So there have been 500 deliveries to date, and nearing 1,000 coming up. So it's choking up our order books right now as we speak. Okay. So the next thing, as we saw earlier, the aerospace industry is going through a monumental change right now. So access to better, faster, and more reliable global in-flight connectivity is creating new opportunities and new innovative uses of data and software. So together, they're creating a digital transformation that we spoke about right in the beginning. That's opening up new ways to share data, new ways to use software, and new ways to make an airplane more efficient. So one of those ways is taking advantage of better real-time data and software to reduce one of the most costly things for airlines, and that's fuel. So fuel represents around 20 to 40% of an airline's cost. But with the connected aircraft, airlines now have an access to aircraft data that allows them to determine specific and tailored fuel efficient programs for them, for the flights, for the sectors that they fly, for the fleet that they have, for the weight that they carry, and they can reduce fuel consumption by up to 5%. So Honeywell's CoDirect fuel efficient software collects, monitors, and analyzes data for operators and airlines to help them optimize fuel efficiency across the fleet. And with this technology, they can provide pilots with the most fuel efficient flight paths to take, reduce the amount of fuel used on every flight. And it's a classic case of how we can put our data to use. A number of airlines around the world are joining this list of customers already using our service for fuel and track their aircraft over time to determine the most fuel efficient way to kind of run their fleet. So just to give you some statistics which can stick on, last year Honeywell customers saved more than around 450 million pounds of fuel, and that's huge, with GoDirect fuel efficiency software. This translates to carbon emissions reductions of around 1.5 billion pounds, and which is equivalent to planting around 300 million trees. So imagine the kind of impact that this connected space is bringing in. So if you look at the next illustration that I have, the point that I want to bring over here is, if you look at an airplane from nose to tail, Honeywell is there pretty much in every nook and corner, right from the flight deck to the avionics, to wheels and brakes, to SATCOM, to the APUs. We have equipment that kind of goes on each and every part of an airplane. We've been making hardware for more than 100 years now, and software for more than around 50 years. And Honeywell technology is virtually in every airplane in the sky. You can point to an airplane flying and say, yeah, that has Honeywell in it. Our install base extends across 84, 85 product lines, tip to tail, and includes, as we just spoke about, APUs, engines, cockpits, wheels and brakes, satellite communication systems, and whatnot. So we know how to integrate aircraft hardware and software to improve the flight experience, and look forward to using this technology to make the flight experience even better. Right. So for what does this mean for airlines? So for airlines, this means a reduction in fuel costs and emissions that we saw, in improve operational disruptions. Passengers are happy. They get a faster Wi-Fi with few drop connections around the globe. Flight operations are happy because they get a more efficient network, reducing disruption, and they save the in-flight time. And finally, the ground operations will be reduced, and that's going to make the maintenance folks happy. I mean, it's in the best possible phase, it can cut troubleshooting time by 25%. So Honeywell is doing more than putting just new technologies on airplanes. It's changing the way we fly, and with all the infrastructure that we have, with all the installed base that we have, with all the setups that we have. I mean, we are the guys who are going to make this change. If not us, who? Let's talk a little about recap a little. It's been a while that I've been talking, so we'll recap a little on the connected ecosystem that we spoke about. So through the evolution of the connected aircraft, Honeywell continues to deliver safer, more efficient, more productive, and ultimately more enjoyable travel experiences. So I'm trying to club the entire experiences for all our stakeholders into just one statement. And looking at enhanced situational awareness, enhanced comfort for flights for passengers, reduced workload for pilots, enhancing aviation safety, predictive maintenance for operations, and reduced costs, ease of ownership for airlines. It's all in there. What I thought is, and this is part two of what I have to present in front of you, and we see a whole lot of software enthusiasts in this webinar, and we thought it's going to be great to lower down our abstraction a little and try to dig into what do we do as a part of the software, because we are getting the best of the software and the industrial world together. So it's important for us to know what do we do as a part of software, and how does it kind of link up to our connected endeavors. So we're totally connected on all our software aspects, right from the sensor to mobility. We look at some of them. We look at some of the software that we do as a part of embedded IoT, as a part of cloud, data analytics, mobile and web. There would be more, but these would be the more significant ones to kind of speak about in today's forum. And feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to talk to me in case you'd want to know a little more about those. So starting off with embedded, as we saw, Honeywell has equipment right from nose to tail, which can facilitate the connected aircraft. There are sensors of different kinds which keep generating data. To give you some numbers, if you look at an airplane of the size of an A350, or let's look at A350 itself, it has close to around 400,000 data points for health monitoring. And this is all meaningful data which needs to be connected, routed, processed, strategized, etc. And it all starts off with the embedded software team that we have. So our embedded team of our software team of embedded folks working on connected aircrafts do all of these actually. They're involved in identification of new sensors, which to us are new opportunities to pull in new data and harvest it, and derive connectivity mechanisms for connecting sensors to creating edges and gateways. So they're involved in careful selection of operating systems which would best suit the applications being developed, most often leveraging our own internally developed operating system, which is DOS. In certain cases, we also look for operating systems externally. A team of engineers are best in class actually when it comes to driving connectivity solutions on the ISM or on the conventional VHF medium or the high-speed broadband via SATCOM. So the engineering team who look at connectivity holistically, evaluate design trade-offs between what needs to be done using hardware, what needs to be done using software. And with a forward-looking view, we invest pretty heavily on research and design to evaluate new technologies which can differentiate us in our offerings. So pretty much every element of embedded technology that you would find in a commercial IoT goes into an aircraft IoT, and we work on all of those. The next very, very important thing that makes IoT an IoT and an aircraft a connected aircraft is cloud computing ground servers. So the advantage with Honeywell is that we have our own data servers and data centers which help our play seamlessly from an end-to-end. So our development ecosystem comprises of pretty high-end Linux clusters that process huge volumes of data and high-performance computations. This is just a small illustration of what I'm just trying to show you. I mean, it had much more things. I just ran out of real estate to put everything in here. We use a wide variety of lightweight frameworks like the PHP code igniter to process high-end data. For example, we use this to get the geospatial data abstraction library in. Our REST-based web services provide us the flexibility to consume and ingest a variety of data formats. For the content delivery, mechanism is hosted on Akamai Power, the high-end computation and content delivery to our applications. to talk a little more about our development philosophies. Our development methodology is accelerated using automation testing, using Selenium, while we use Jira for all our project management artifacts. We've been investing in our cloud competency during the last couple of years across different businesses and not just aerospace, and have a very strong experience of development over Azure, IBM's Bluemix, AWS platforms, etc., etc. We are now even looking at getting our own platform up, which would be customized to fit our strategies around our connected offerings and connected offerings across our different businesses. So tune in for that in just a couple of days. You would be able to hear that. Data analytics, we have a pretty strong data analytics team here that have played an important role in helping us to deliver value to all our customers. In fact, the Go Direct example that we just saw and the other examples that we saw in our discussions earlier leverage the pretty strong data crunching engines that we have to deliver precision and value to applications that run prognostics and diagnostics. So we have a bunch of great minds, data scientists, and people who eat, smell, sleep data and get this kind of resolved. Our applications use wide variety of analytics, some of them in-house, some of them external, to understand user behavior, user demographics. The data helps us to make scientific decisions on different applications actually and their features. So some of our analytics stack includes Google Analytics for understanding user demographics, for understanding behavior analysis, and to kind of look at the user engagement levels. We also look at Crashlytics for understanding the stability of the applications that we develop and identify where we need to go and kind of improve and provide a great experience. We also look at iTunes Analytics to understand the daily, weekly, monthly trends of app usage patterns, to get some market intel and to see how our apps are doing as well. And of course, the most important part, the front end, the mobile or the web apps. So our mobile center of excellence develops applications ranging from native application development on platforms like the iOS and the Android, to a cross-platform using latest technologies like React Native, etc. Some of these technologies foster code reusability of up to, I think, 85 to 90% and help us in delivering applications faster to the market. And we have a very, very dedicated team that kind of looks at the best possible ways in which we could provide this experience, this user experience, to our customers and users. So some of the development process is also supplemented by automated testing, continuous integration systems, which provide the teams with live health status of the applications. And some of these continuous integration systems include Jenkins and the Visual Studio Team Foundation server. Automation of test cases has helped us to reduce the amount of time spent on validation at our end of the product. And our teams perform automated validation at every level, ranging from web services to user interface in short sprints, so that we kind of complete stuff in a phased way and in a recursive manner, right? I thought it would also be useful as a part of this webinar to touch upon some of the very, very aerospace specific examples that we have kind of created from an end-to-end. Want to talk a little about the flight planning part. So using the aircraft performance and meteorological models, our flight planning system uses a flight plan engine. We get it from a tool called Skyplan. It offers reliable and accurate flight planning along with optimized routing, precise fuel burns, and also an integrated performance tools. These translate into a reduced operational cost, and these are applications that are done from end to end, right from the conventional flight planning methodologies to this new way of flight planning. Honeywell's weather service information app, it helps the flight crews in making strategic in-flight decisions with respect to weather information by providing up-to-date weather data. It could be along routes, along areas of interest. Additionally, the weather information service can provide optimization of the flight path due to the availability of the most recent weather information, and it's all end to end. I mean, the examples that I'm talking about right now are end to end connected solutions that have been created, that are in use, that are being used by airlines, that are being used by pilots and users right now. We've also developed customized internal solutions for some of the customers that enable pilots to upload flight plans to a flight management system and file the flight plans electronically automatically. Right? And by the way, our applications also consume third-party information and data like the runway analysis, weight and balance developed by the aircraft performance group. So this allows operators to achieve accurate payload estimates without the need for the internet connectivity, and use of the maximum payload estimator tool to determine maximum payloads given a combination of specific temperatures from the departure and arrival airports is possible. So the selected payload is then used with the weight and balance package in our offerings to ensure that aircraft has not been overloaded, because it adds on to fuel cost, it adds on to delays, it adds on to a whole lot on the aircraft profile. Okay, so as we saw, we have Honeywell softwares that kind of enable us from hardware to the applications to service. So Honeywell provides solutions to optimize bandwidth and reduce data and operating costs while creating the best possible experience for our customers, right? So as we forge our connected path forward at Honeywell, so there are some very important investments that we are making, which will make our sailing smooth and make us the best connected aircraft offerings in the world. So we're deriving the best of our strategies for securing connected infrastructure. And how do we look at making our connected offerings hack-proof? So we're investing a whole lot on cybersecurity, taking it to the next level. We're looking at how do we connect our already flying platforms with a core retrofit approach by using a delta engineering on our already flying equipment. Because for the ones that are about to come into the market, you can launch products and they are up. But for the stuff that is already in the market, and that's a huge market, how do we address that? We are defining our development philosophies to cover certification aspects, and we are also evolving along with connected. So traditional aerospace did not see a whole lot of applications being hosted on iPad, for example. So the rules of the games are changing, and how do we keep ourselves up on that, and how do we let it be a great part of our investment and learning? And most important of all, how do we strategize around the big data lake that we are surrounded by? We looked at an example of an A350 that kind of generates a whole lot of data. So how do we strategize? How do we play? We have all the data today, but how do we strategize? What's the data strategy? That's going to be so very important. So it's a challenge that we can take up together to figure all of this out. And the question to ask now is, are you ready to take the leap with us? Do you have it in you?
Honeywell Aerospace is the leading global provider of avionics, mechanical, systems, and services to the aerospace industry. With a focus on delivering exceptional products, services, and support, we apply our expertise to enhance customer value through innovations that allow the possibilities of connectivity made easy. Honeywell believes the modern aircraft is now a hub in the sky, connected to a broader end-to-end system. Today's airplanes create an enormous amount of data while simultaneously needing access to new data streams and high-speed connectivity to keep pilots and operators informed and passengers entertained and productive through all phases of flight. Honeywell's intent is to provide this seamless flow of data on and off the aircraft using technology, and to harness it to improve the flight experience for pilots and operators and passengers. Passengers like to be connected. Phones, tablets, and computers provide access to the internet, email, social networks, family and friends, and they want the freedom to stay connected whether they are on the ground or in the air. Luckily, many new aircraft have connectivity systems that not only enable passengers to be connected to the services they use on the ground, but provide access to new in-flight entertainment and travel experiences. Outside of passenger comfort, Honeywell is researching and developing new technologies, services, and products that will utilize connectivity and data to connect mechanical parts such as wheels and brakes and engines to better alert maintenance operators when parts need to be repaired. By connecting mechanical parts of the aircraft for real-time diagnostics and analysis, Honeywell can provide airlines and operators with an expanded capability to optimize aircraft efficiency, manage aircraft system maintenance, and minimize downtime. Higher speed data and new technologies can also harness connectivity products to provide pilots with real-time updates on weather, flight plans, and airports, providing pilots with information to make faster, better, and safer decisions in the air. This is a new age in connectivity for the aerospace industry. Pilots, operators, and passengers can all benefit from connectivity. Honeywell's goal is to deliver connected solutions that increase efficiency and safety, and that deliver services that will translate to new and better flight experiences we haven't even yet conceived. From the design, installation, use, and management of connected systems, Honeywell realizes the importance of providing the best solution possible. This is achieved by working in partnership with customers to deliver results. With a broad portfolio of electrical and mechanical products and services, Honeywell is well positioned to make the possibilities of connectivity made easy.
With that, I can take questions if there are. So the first question that I have is, what would be some of the key characteristics of the data that you deal with? Okay, so if we talk about aerospace and if we talk about the kind of data that all of us deal with, the characteristics of the data is, the first thing is it's large volume. The second thing is it's great variety. The formats of the data are different, and it kind of comes at different speeds, different latencies, and it's constantly streaming. Most of the equipment that we have on board keeps pumping out information, so you've got to be very, very current with respect to that. And in addition to that, it's complex. So a typical airplane status information coming out of a box would be a 32-bit word that you've got to kind of decode and get the complexity out. And with all the different products that are getting developed, with all the different subsystems and subsystems that are getting on board, there is a whole lot of growth, and we don't really know how to extrapolate how much of a data is going to be there on an airplane in the next platform. So I would want to answer this question putting these key characteristics of the data. It's large volume, it's great variety of data, it's constantly streaming, it's complicated, it's complex, and it's kind of it's like taming the data complexity when you want to look at growth due to product improvements. The next question that I have here is, it's actually a combination of a couple of questions, so I'll combine it to one and take this. So what do you think would a good data strategy be for aerospace, since it's all about data, as you spoke? Yeah, I mean, it's all because of data. I mean, we are all circling around the sun called data today. So a good strategy for data would address a whole lot of things that take the subjectivity out of the thing. There are things to be answered, like whose data is it today? To look off the situation that we are today. I make a box. I make an equipment that Boeing buys and sells it to, let's say, Emirates. Whose data is it today? Is it Honeywell's? Is it Boeing's? Or is it Emirates? We've got to look at that thing and derive data brokerage models that we can have. Compliance to standards is going to be another part of a great strategy for the data. Data formats, data protocols need to be standardized. It's going to put enough computing pressure on board the airplane if we do the way in which we do today. And the other thing is, how much data is enough? If I talk about examples of recreating information in the cloud, do you need to transfer all the data from an airplane to a cloud, or can you recreate the same information with just 30% of the data? That's something that you've got to look at, because unlike Wi-Fi that you and me can kind of pay a monthly rental and do a data back and forth, it pays to kind of send stuff out on a SATCOM link. How can we reduce data and create the same amount of information at a distance? The other thing is going to be around the integrity of the aircraft. We looked at cybersecurity and the investments that a lot of companies are doing in the world today. How would we strategize around a good strategy on cybersecurity? Which layers of the protocols do we want to secure? Do we want to have it at the data layer? Do we want to have it at transport layer? Do we want to build it in as a part of our embedded system? Those are strategies that you would have to decide with respect to the data and the burning platform. Some of the other things that you've got to look at is how do you go just beyond data? I mean, it's data, it's dump. So and you're looking at monetizing decisions, right? You're not just looking at monetizing what comes from a data. So can you look at automotive systems? Can you look at artificial intelligence, cognitive systems that can do a lot of stuff that you don't have to get your hands dirty on? So getting a little farther from data towards analytics, cognitive, bringing in these fields of artificial intelligence, machine intelligence, and stuff to kind of make more sense out of the data is going to be a good strategy that you can play around with respect to data. Okay, I'm trying to look at other questions. Just hold on. The other question is, would the connected aircraft remove the necessity of black box? Can it act as an alternative to the black box? Yeah, I mean the opportunity, and this is a question from Gaurav. So Gaurav, there is all the possibility of how you create the black box thing. I mean, don't think of it as a black box. Think of it as a system that stores, retrieves information, and provides. With connected, it's definitely possible. There are companies that are working on black box in a cloud. There are companies that are working on putting significant information in their platforms that they offer as a service today. So definitely it is possible. The opportunities, that's why, which connected brings are enormous. The other question from Raman is, what is the downside of a connected aircraft? How do you ensure safety? That's a great question, actually, Raman. The thing is, the downside of a connected aircraft is in the way we kind of implement it. It has all the positives, all the upsides, but one thing gone wrong, or one thing not implemented well, one thing not taken care of can put the entire fleet at risk. So the biggest challenge, what I would kind of say is making your connected system, your connected ecosystem secure. And there would be multiple ways. There would be different mechanisms to kind of do that at different levels, as I spoke about a couple of minutes back. And so safety and cyber are the two greatest things that I would want to look at. It has to also bring in the concepts of the ARP 4761 that we deal with. Because some of these are in terms of the aerospace parlance level D, level E kind of products. So safety is kind of relaxed. But if we are looking at getting uncertified systems also in the play together with this, we will have to look at an infrastructure that can kind of take care of all of those. I would take the next question. The thing is, I'm just trying to combine a few questions. So Krishna Prasad has a question which says, in the connected aircraft world, what is the monetization strategy and what is the pricing strategy? Can you throw some light on this? So yeah, I mean, the very reason why all these different offerings are coming out is because they have the reason to be monetized. You have all the data. For example, if an aircraft takes off from let's say Bangalore, goes over to Delhi, the amount of data that it kind of generates, which could have been useful, is just let off as a data exhaust at the end of the flight. There is so much that we can do with what we collect from engines, that what we collect from radar, what we collect from the performance part of the FMS, that we can sell it back to the airlines and try to see how well they can optimize their strategy of flights, or how can it help their dispatch operations. So it's a big monetization strategy, and the pricing strategy is definitely going to be designed by how and when we rope in our sales and marketing and everybody looking at the value of what we provide as a solution. But definitely, yeah, all this data is worth monetization, and we have been letting that go away as an exhaust till now. So that has to be kind of worked. The other question is, how can I come and work at Honeywell? Oh, that's a great question, and I was expecting a couple of questions like that. So, you have the my contact information, and feel free to get in touch with the HR. So there are opportunities that get listed on Honeywell's website. If you look at the different opportunities that are kind of available, I mean, you can pick up a job ID. You can write to the people who are marked on those jobs, and send your cases, and we'll be very, very glad to look at that. And it's an exciting opportunity for us, for all of us over here. There are lots of things that are happening, and I'll be glad if we can do it together. So look at our Honeywell's job site. There are a lot of listings over there, some connected, some not so connected. But if you'd want to kind of look it up, that's the place to kind of start off. And you have our contacts. Send what you have. So the other question from Akash is, data bandwidth of existing communication systems is rather small considering the amount of data Honeywell envisages to tap into. What is Honeywell's plan for this? So Akash, if you look at the prior part of the presentation, where we looked at the different mechanisms in which there was an illustration which was sending out the data by different means. So if you look at the different versions of connected offerings that have been created, they have been created using some of the conventional VHF modes, and you're right. I mean, the data bandwidth capability is very less, 32 kbps and stuff. For some equipment, for some applications, it works. But for some applications where you would need a bigger pipe, a bigger bandwidth, I mean, there's SATCOM that comes to our rescue. Also, I would want to mention, you won't need to kind of downlink all the data while you're flying. For some of the maintenance data, for some of the data that you collect in your fault memories, this is going to be a data download that you're going to do when you're on ground. So, and you will have alternate means to kind of do that. So connected is a combination of all these different connectivity mechanisms which you would want to use based on your use case, based on the consumer, based on the producer. So there are multiple options. So small bandwidth applications do exist today, where we don't need big data pipes. There are these huge data bandwidth application that exist specifically with respect to the cabin. And then you can use ATG, you can use Wi-Fi, you can use all of that while you are at the airport and stuff. All right, I'm actually overwhelmed to see a whole lot of questions. So what I would rather do now is get all these questions from all of you. I mean, I think the questions are over maybe 60 or 70, and try to answer all of these one by one to all of you. I'll get a dump of it and kind of try to do justice by answering it properly to each and everybody. But it was great, and thanks for being a part of this webinar. Thanks for showing your interest in Honeywell. Thanks for showing your interest in connected aircrafts. And it's real. I mean, the power of connected airplanes is definitely going to take us to a large place, and the impact is going to be awesome. So I would collect all these questions that you have. It's going to be impossible for me to answer these 60 questions in the next 5 minutes or so, but I would get back to you with an answer. My contact details are right here in this presentation. So if you want to write to me, call me, discuss further something that invoked interest, please let me know, and we can definitely take this association further. Thanks again. Thanks for your time, and let's make this a great connected world.